Hello, Justice Warrior, Annie Ruler, and any others that haven't tapped into the chat yet. Put that on live chat. All right. Thank you for catching me on the replay or for being here live. I am so happy to be here. How's my hat? How's my hair? I think my hair is actually kind of safe, but no, now that I put the hat on, it's not anymore. It was safe, and I was like, I just love doing the hats. Okay. And then I've got this very high risk necklace that's going to keep shifting around. So I have to just adjust it and then not look at it. Oh my goodness. Or maybe even abandon it completely. Because, yeah, it's like 6, let's see, 5. And they're all on their own cords and they all are going to do what they want. And no, I didn't make it. It's a little too crazy for me, even. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I can wear it. Like, I don't think I've ever worn it before on camera or off, but I'll just go with it. Okay, sorry. This isn't about the hair and the jewelry. This is seriously about so many cases right now, you guys. Hey, Sherry. And I got my mic. Where is it? It's right here. I think it's probably working well. Sorry for that noise. The spot that I have it, I think, is a good one. It seems like it's better when it's over here than when I have it on my chest. It seems like it kind of dulls it down when I have it right on my person. But, okay, so first off, let me just say I love you. I miss you. It is so freaking hard for me when I'm not coming on live. And I'll quit moving my hands so much because I don't want to be making it robot. Let me know if it does robot. And I have been so freaking sick, you wouldn't believe it. Yesterday I was good. Today I'm like rock solid so far. Knock on wood, right? So it's still with the allergies. And then that spurning off an inner ear situation that still hasn't completely resolved, even though I've completed the antibiotics and the prednisone. It's still what they call bulging, the membrane in the ear, and it's dry because we need rain here like we've never needed it probably in 100 years here in the lovely state of Ohio, Springfield, Ohio. You guys, I've never told you what quadrant of the state that I live in until recently. I'm not in Springfield, but I might as well be. I'm literally 1 minute from the truth about the cats and the dogs. So we'll get to that. And if you guys have been catching JLR and Magnolia, they have been rocking it. They have been boots on the ground, and I've emailed them a couple of times. They're doing such a great job. Oh, Annie Ruler says, such a nice photo of your great son, or just says, nice photo of your great son. I was so happy that I was allowed to post that on my community tab. You guys, my son, my 20-year-old son is representing, I could just cry. Because, I was born in Arlington, Virginia, and he is a ceremonial guard for the Navy in Arlington, Virginia. And they just posted on their social media a photograph of him in the lead in a demonstration. So there's a coffin there, but there's nobody in the coffin. If there was, it would be completely off limits. But it's just a demonstration. But he's the freaking lead, and that's my baby boy. And because it's been posted to their social media, I'm allowed to post it on mine, which normally all of that stuff you have to be so tight with, right? And for good reason. So yeah, I was really happy to show that picture. I mean, I've showed a couple other pictures here and there that I've been allowed to because they're on social media, but I'm very cautious and I always ask directly if this one is allowed or not. So thanks, Annie Ruler. I'm so proud of my baby, my boy. And it's just kind of full circle for him to be working where I was born. So I was born in Arlington, raised in DC and the West Coast, for those of you that are confused, because I'm like literally all over the map. So my parents met each other in Washington, DC. My granddad was a colonel in the U.S. Army. And my parents were beatniks, of course. It was the 60s. And he was a writer, like paperback writer. And she was an artist. And they both were literally they were in their last semester about to graduate from George Washington University, and they said, screw this noise, let's piss everybody off and get married. And they did. And then neither of them ever finished their degrees. They both were like independent artists, I guess you could say, kind words for being unemployed or underemployed. I mean, they made their way, but my father did a lot of illegal scams. My mother, no illegal scams, but definitely an artist and hardworking. And you have to be really hardworking to make it as an artist. Anyway, so my dad then took custody of us when I was about 5. My sister was 7. And he moved us to Washington, D.C., like the day that the divorce papers were delivered. That's an emotional day for people, like in the Micah Miller, J.P. Diddy case, right? It's a very emotional day. He got handed those papers and he put us in the car and drove us to D.C. I mean, he already had everything ready because he knew it was coming. But he got handed those papers. And we went from D.C. to Los Angeles. So that was the first time we lived on the West Coast. And then it was back and forth every year, pretty much for the rest of my life, except for Ohio, where my great-grandparents were from. So this land has always been like my anchor in reality, my shelter in the storm, with all of that chaos with growing up. So that's me in a nutshell. How about you? How are you guys today? See, when allergies swell brain, you are like a corpse patient. A cops patient, huh? Glad news comes back. Yeah, it's insane. Like I had a couple of good days earlier in the week, and then the day before yesterday, I was so sick. I felt like I just was not going to make it, and I would have had to go to the ER, except that I had one last Zofran that we could find. And I had thrown up so many times the night before last, which is why I didn't come on live yesterday. Even though I felt better, I wanted to be sure. And I can still feel it in my ear, this damn vertigo thing. But somehow I'm not nauseous. And I do have a bunch of more of the Zofran now. I got the prescription refilled. So yeah, it's been like a month with this whole thing with the allergies. It's supposed to start raining in 2 days, you guys. Please come to Ohio and do a rain dance with me. So anyway, here we are right outside of Springfield, Ohio, and JLR has been nailing it with his boots on the ground, nailing it. He's just digging up all kinds of cray, and it's all real. He's on it. He is absolutely on it. And Magnolia too. I have to give her a huge shout out. Like the two of them together are magnificent. And they're such a cute pair. I don't know if they're romantically involved, but they should be, in my humble opinion. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Oh, look, we have so many friends in here. Jackie Bushable. And then I got my whole freaking doggy cancer situation. She's still okay, but we have to get surgery again. So that's been rough. That was just like 3 days ago that I had to take her back to that surgeon and get everything figured out for scheduling a new surgery. So it grew back, and yeah, it's so expensive and it's so scary. But it's like your child. What are you going to do? You do have to balance it out with quality of life, right? Like we don't want her to be uncomfortable. We want her to have quality of life versus quantity of life, but you need to balance it. It's really tricky. So we're hoping and praying that things can still get under control with it when they redo the surgery and then do chemo or the other thing. Radiation. There we go. Okay. Thumbs up, please, if you don't mind. And everything I say is simply an opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All of my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I appreciate you guys so much, keeping my channel alive, as much as I feel like YouTube sometimes is trying to do just the opposite. And, if they are, I will take that as a compliment. But I also like to not get ahead of myself and realize that it could just be a bunch of glitches, right? It's just a whole freaking lot of glitches at all the right times. Okay, I'm going to just totally abandon this necklace in a minute because it's like messing with my eyeballs. It's distracting me from me thoughts in me brain. Me thinks. Where are me thinks? All right. So we've got Annie Ruler in the house, Sherry, and Jackie Bushable. So it's the four of us. Do you guys have your coffee or tea? And are you ready to roll? Are you ready to rock and roll? Let's see. I hope you get better soon. We need a good rain in Ohio. Yeah, and I know we're not the only ones. Man, I feel bad complaining when I look at California. Big time. Big time. But hopefully, I think they're saying like Monday or Tuesday. They've said that a couple of times over the last week or so, and we've had like not even a drizzle once, but like a light mist, and that was, you'll take what you get, right? You'll take whatever you can get. We're usually very humid here, and we're not humid, which is super problematic for my freaking ear, but also for fire and all that. Anyway, yes, I come from a line of farmers, and yes, I do have business farming. So I do sound like a farmer because I am. That's something I hadn't really talked about much until very recently because it hasn't really been a big part of my life, but it's a big part of the foundation of my life, and it's becoming a bigger part of my life. So that's really cool. The gardening. Okay. One more thing before we get to the cases. I got stung by a couple of ground bees the other day, you guys, when I was out watering. Ground bees suck. I mean, bee stings suck in general. But man, the thing I want to bring up about the ground bees and then dovetails right into true crime is the way bees are so genius in their hive thinking. So a few days ago, I discovered the ground bees when I was out there watering, and like 200 of them came up out of this hole. I've never seen that many in one spot. And you can't even see the hole because it's under the stuff that I was watering. So they were mad. They were really angry. And I got away in time that time. And then I forgot about them being there because I've been so busy, and the allergies make your brain no worky. I am going to abandon this freaking necklace. Sorry to be bumping things. Then when the bees, I went out to water a couple days ago, and they remembered me, and they just came after me. I was lucky I only got stung by 2 because they were all over me, but I had on long pants. Unfortunately, not denim because I don't think they could have stung through the denim, but one got me on the hip and one got me on the thigh. They were like all over my freaking pants legs. And I ran into the backyard, tore my clothes off, ran into the house, and they didn't come into the house. And I was able to, leave like 10 of them on my pants on the back patio. TMI. Okay, which necklace should I wear now? I'm just going to go with the closest one, and then I'm going to stop with all of these other issues. So the thing about the beehive is that, they have this hive mind. So when I was out there yesterday watering, and I was being so careful, actually I watered this morning. So yeah, I did water yesterday too. It's been that dry. So when I was out there watering yesterday and I saw them, they saw me, but like one of them came out immediately and came right at me and flew around my head and then went back. It was the warning bee, like warning me and warning the hive. And I was just stunned. Like, how can these bees be so freaking smart that they can organize and say, okay, you guys hold on. I'm going to go check this out. I'll be right back. And then, a few more, but I got out of there. And then, so my point about the hive mind. So that's what people mean when they say hive mind. And I feel like that's what we have here on YouTube in True Crime. We're all kind of working together, even if we're not really aware of other channels or what other channels are doing, because it's hard to keep up with ourselves. It's hard to keep up with everybody. We do what we can. Some of the content creators have teams of people to help with this. Others of us just have like a committee in our brain. And, you might call us schizophrenic on a bad day. You might call us genius on a good day. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so yeah, as you can tell, I'm super excited to be back on. I was in What's the Obsession's live chat last night. She had an awesome live, as she is such an expert in doing. She's getting close to 60,000 subs now. I'm so happy for my friend Kelly. And I came up into her panel for just like 15 minutes right towards the end. And I was super excited to be on her panel. But, it was small. I've never been on a panel for that short of an amount of time, but she was going to be wrapping up and I was tired. So that was good. And I wanted to talk about the Watts case too, because I'm going to put a link to that. And I want to direct you guys there because in case you didn't know, newsflash, Rourke is out of his effing mind. That man is a lunatic. And these gaslighters and the things that they say, and they say so many things, it's just coming at you a mile a minute. You can't even keep up. And here we are like 6 years later. Yeah, 6 freaking years later. And Kelly was catching some stuff last night that I don't think she's caught before. And I know I hadn't caught before. So I'll put links to that and tell you right where to go in the event that you have been following the Watts case ever. You would think that we would get bored with it or that we would run out of things to talk about, and quite the opposite. Like, so she has 2 lives coming on tonight, or actually one is a premiere at 7, I think, and then a live at 9. So again, I'm going to highly recommend that we reconvene over at What's the Obsession later this evening for our hive minds, right? So I'm the warning ground bee. So let's see. Yeah, I went to Cabo to dive, got allergies in a storm back in Vegas. All good. Oh my goodness, Annie, you are so jet set. And thank you for your emails. You're very sweet. I'm still on cold coffee. Yes, I've got my cold coffee here too. I know I probably shouldn't be doing my coffee with all the allergies, but you know me, I will not give up my coffee. Those bees from the ground are frightening. A lady I swim with got stung from the ground bees on the golf course over 22 times. Yeah, they come out in handfuls and they all attack immediately. The first time I ever got attacked by ground bees was like 5 years ago. And I think it was about 6 of them. Like they all stung me at exactly the same time. And I had no idea what was even going on. They're angry. And yeah, I'd never even heard of a ground bee, because I hadn't started gardening until like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. It was either my first year gardening or maybe my second year gardening, probably my first year. And I was gardening for an elderly friend who, that's how I got started, was my mother and her friends. And they got too old to do stuff, so they would basically tell me what needed to be done. So I was like the little protege of the master gardeners. A couple of them were actually like, registered master gardeners. My mother, she never complied with that whole bureaucratic system. She would have been like the master of the masters, though. She was like an encyclopedia. Okay. Empanada, Annie Ruler. That's what she tried to say. Empanada flirted with the DA and got no charges, in my opinion. Chris needs to speak up. Well, yeah, I think there's so much to it. In the last live that Kelly did, and she's, I think, had the allergies too. So it was about 5 days ago, and she was supposed to come on like the next night, but then I think it took 5 nights. And so she's getting back on track right now. And what she was talking about and what I had been aware of throughout the case over the years, but not to such a heightened degree, is the corruption of the Weld County DA's office and the history of the corruption and the revenge and the retribution and the retaliation, the whistleblower retaliation. We're going to be talking about that today too, if I can stay on track. I have my notes. So much to talk about. So we might be on for like 4 hours. No, I'm just kidding. But we might be on for like over a couple of hours if my voice can keep up and if you guys want. I am blessed to not have a tight time frame today at all. Somehow I got the entire house to myself. So no one's coming home for at least, I don't know, maybe another hour and a half. So, but that's not an invitation to come and find me. We still have our cameras and all, right? I mean, you got to be careful with that information. Absolutely. And that's what's so impressive about JLR is he's like boots on the ground in downtown Springfield, which is not a safe city. It never has been. Never, ever, ever. In the 40 years that I've known it, 45 years that I've known it. It's a very, very crime-laden city. And I would like to be able to tell him that myself, but I think he's figured that out. Anyway, boots on the ground on a live and inviting people to come find him and talk to him. And people are doing just that. But my goodness, him and Magnolia, they're very brave. Yeah, they can tape people with their camera if anything stupid were to happen. But still, there's so many wingnuts out there. We all have to be extremely careful. So you guys know that I take a lot of precautions with that type of thing. And I've always figured if my channel got bigger, which it's not, eventually people will figure out where you are because it's like a guessing game and people love a challenge. It's like a puzzle. So they'll like try to pick up every little clue that they can and they'll talk to people and all that. Annie. So, and I say that, in jest with love. So yeah, when you send people things or people send you things, unless you use like a PO box overseas, a shell company in Haiti. Oh my goodness, so many different crazy things. Be careful, Jazz, Sherry says. So yeah, absolutely. That's always been my motto my whole life. But honestly, Sherry, when somebody says something like that, and I trust you, you've been around for a long time. But I think JLR was saying this too to his commenters. It's like, as a content creator, you almost see that as a potential threat. Like, so just so you guys know, like we all need to be careful, right? All the time, whether we're content creators or not. So can your allergist doctor give you shots for your offensive plant? I was bad about poison oak, liquid drops in 1976 and never again. Holy caboli, Annie Ruler. I don't really have an allergy doctor. I just see my regular doctor for it. Never heard of such a thing. That's phenomenal. Yeah, like a like an immunization. So let's just talk about Springfield, you guys, because like I said, I live really close to Springfield. It's been in the news a lot. There's a lot of issues there. There always has been. And the issues in the news are not the issues that are real. That's just a bunch of hype. It's really just a bunch of hype. And I really still want to try to steer clear of the politics as much as I possibly can. So the city is in utter chaos. The schools have been closed for like a week. Like I've told you guys, Wittenberg University is a gem of a amazing educational institution. Wittenberg University, you can look it up. It's really small. It's really pretty campus. It's kind of right in the middle of downtown. And downtown, the buildings are beautiful, but it's seedy. It is absolutely seedy. A lot of the buildings that are so beautiful it's like a ghost town. It was town that built itself financially on the printing industry for the most part. And when printing became obsolete, with the advent of the interwebs, as I like to say, the city became a ghost town. I haven't looked it up, but back in the 80s, when I was in high school in this area, I want to say that the city of Springfield was about 100,000 people. It's a pretty big city. That's not a big population, but it's extremely large because it's rural and it's spread out. So square miles, it's a really big city. And the downtown has beautiful architecture and all kinds of cool stuff back in its heyday. But then when it became a ghost town, the population dwindled to about 50,000, which is why, it partially explains why all these immigrants why that city was selected. Although I don't think that that was done appropriately. And I think that there's a lot of people profiting off the Haitian migrants. And like I said, I'm trying to stay out of the whole political realm of it. But I think that there's people illegally profiting off of them and exploiting them, and that's being discovered, and that's good. So in that sense, the limelight or the spotlight on this other stupid stuff is maybe helpful in the end. So, I mean, I knew that there was a Haitian faction. I didn't know like the history of how it came into being. And I'm just going to direct you guys to the JLR videos about that. Like I said, I want to try really hard to stay out of the politics, especially because I live in this state, and Ohio is a red state. It's been Republican for a very long time. Since I was born, I'd say 25% of Ohio is not Republican. It's a very strong Republican state. However, Springfield, very, very Republican. Not so much at the moment. And I will be surprised if Ohio indeed votes red this election cycle. I will be surprised. But we'll see. So Wittenberg University has had to do all of their classes online for over a week, you guys. And the students there are saying it's like COVID all over again. They've had games canceled. The college has had games canceled. The schools in Springfield, like elementary schools, junior high schools, everybody's staying inside, not just the Haitians. Everybody is scared of what is going to happen, and the chaos is insurmountable, and the bomb threats and the shooting threats, it's really bad, you guys. It's really bad. The mayor and the governor, who are both Republican, have called in the Ohio State Patrol. Dare I say it? I will, because I believe in the power of jinxing things. If I say it, it won't happen, hopefully. I wouldn't be surprised if they call in the National Guard. My goodness. Hopefully it's not going to be like Kent State all over again. Like, you're not even allowed to mention Kent State when you're in the city of Kent. Seriously. And we're not that far from Kent. We're probably like less than 2 hours. If you look on Google, you can do Springfield to Kent. It's probably like not even 90 minutes at the most, I think. It's been a long time since I've been there, but I love my state of Ohio. I love Ohio State University. That's where my mother was born. That's where my grandfather, my grandmother, they both went to college there. They were from the area outside of Springfield, and they went off to OSU. They got married, they had kids, they were a military family for 30 years before retiring back to the family farm and then being farmers. I mean, all American, Farmer John and Mary Jane. I'm not kidding you. That's my grandparents' names. So it's almost like the Waltons around here. And yeah, so OSU is a gem too. That's an hour away. That's in Columbus. But I feel like OSU is getting tarnished too with the politician who started this whole thing with the cats and dogs and his connection to our state. He's a senator here. And the people, even the Republican politicians, are really mad with him. They're trying to get him to stand down, and he's doubling down. Again, it's a mess. I'm not here to talk politics. I'm so impressed with the channels that are able just to completely steer clear of all politics. Like, that is magnificent. You know, it's important to me to talk about these cases because let's just hop right into the Madeline Soto case, you guys. You know how much I try to stay out of that case because that's so disgusting. And I've always suspected that she might have been with baby, and that might have had something to do with her fate of the victimization and the red rum. And I'll put a link to Ninja Chihuahua's latest video that I think she just dropped a couple hours ago about exactly that. And she's not stating that that's what the case is, but she's done a lot more research on the case than I have. And she's asking that question. And I've not only asked that question since jump, I've kind of jumped to that conclusion. And especially after listening to Ninja's video, like, it just kind of solidified it for me. Like, yeah, probably, in my opinion, that 13-year-old, that 12-year-old got knocked up by her disgusting stepdad or her mom's boyfriend or whatever. And her mom knew it. You know, there's all those texts about her cycle. The law enforcement is not going to be asking questions about her cycle if it's not relevant. That's just cut and dry. Like, you know what law enforcement knows from the questions that they ask. So it's all about asking the right questions when you're interviewing somebody, whether that's a job interview, an interrogation, or a mental health assessment. It's all about the right questions. That's where your power lies. I think for all of us as people, if we remember that, we don't need to make statements. Like, even when we're making content on YouTube, we don't need to make statements. We can get in trouble for that, but we can't get in trouble for asking questions. So let's keep asking the right questions to the right people. Annie Ruler says, what? I missed something. What is happening? Let's see. Honey hasn't cut it for you. We see. No, the honey hasn't. And I keep doing the honey. I love my honey. I'm like a honey bear. And yeah, I do raw local honey. Sometimes I forget, but I pretty much do it every day, and especially lately. I scootered many streets in Seattle, scary by accident, GoPro strapped on. It is almost security. Even my startle PTSD hasn't screamed except once, and he was a potential threat. He apologized. Yeah, Annie Ruler. I mean, surveillance cameras are a good thing, in my opinion. A lot of people don't like them because they feel like it's Big Brother watching you. But if you're not doing anything wrong, then why do you care, right? I think that they're great because they can keep us honest and accountable and safe. And yeah, my husband's LE, and we have cameras on our property. I've got a camera on my vehicle. There's been times where I wish I had a body cam, but all of us, our cell phones are like body cams, right? Or like, what do you call those? Like the, like Scammy was wearing at Boca, like, when you have like the flashlight and the cam on the hat, the head cam. There's a name for it. My brain's not gonna come up with it though. If anybody wants to jump in, please do. Okay, sorry, I meant careful of the bees. Oh, Sherry, you're so sweet. I know, like I said, I was just stating it because it's a thing. All of us need to be extremely cautious, and we also need to be cautious about what we say. And I appreciate you clarifying that, Sherry. That's awesome. What, I missed something? What is happening? I don't know what's happening. Annie Ruler says I was in a storm. My friend will not do social media because of Kent State. No photos. Um, do they have a connection there? I mean, there are so many people that still live there that can tell you their story. It's insane. I mean, it's insane what actually happened there. And I don't think many people knew what actually happened there, other than the people who were there, until the 50-year anniversary a couple years ago. I want to say that that was 2021, or was it 2022 was the 50-year anniversary. Maybe 2022. Somebody can look it up if you want. But anyway, when the 50-year anniversary of Kent State happened, there was a group of thespians who did a play that was like a documentary, and they interviewed many of the locals in Kent for many, many years. And then they put together this amazing script, and it really told the story well. So there was like the shooters at Kent State, it was the National Guardsmen, but like it was like the Green National Guardsmen. It was like they were in training, and it was like they might have been students at Kent State, and like they didn't really know what they were doing, and they were unleashed against the students. It was a lot of chaos. It was a lot of crazy, and you ended up with 4 on the ground. I mean, I can only imagine how many injuries there were. Um, I want to say one of the 4 was like 9 months pregnant, right? Anyway, I've been to Kent. I have a dear friend whose father was a professor at Kent State. And when you're at Kent, the city of Kent, or the Kent State University, you absolutely don't bring it up. You absolutely don't bring it up, period. Our college kids eating cats and dogs. Annie Ruler, nobody is, that's not a thing. But I mean, it's a thing in some of these countries like North Korea and Cambodia. That's always been a thing. You can Google it. I mean, I don't know if it's a delicatessen or it's just something that people do because they can't afford other things. But, you know, people that are poor in like Kentucky and Appalachia historically have eaten squirrels and possum. And the vice presidential candidate is from Kentucky, and he's got a history of eating squirrels and possum, and he's upfront about that in his book, Hillbilly Elegy. So this whole thing is extremely ironic anyway. I mean, to me, that's disgusting. I don't like to eat anything except like grocery store food. You know, my husband's a hunter, and he'll eat venison and other weird stuff like buffalo. Some people don't think that's weird. I'm just like chicken, pork, beef. That's it. I'm not branching out. No deer, no buffalo, none of that. You know, I used to eat seafood, calamari and scallops and halibut and salmon. I can't even eat seafood anymore. None of it. Just because of all the plastic that the fish are eating in the ocean. I can't. I can't do it. I won't do it. I can't even eat shrimp anymore. I used to love shrimp. But anyway, back to the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am. Maddie, her mom not wanting them to find her makes me think mom's DNA via toys and slobber she was afraid of. So gross, Annie. Thank you for saying it. So I don't have to. But I don't think I ever even let my mind go there. I've just steered clear of that case as much as I possibly can, which is hard being on YouTube true crime. That case, a lot of people are covering it. And sometimes I do watch some of those videos, like that Plunder one and the Ninja one and a couple others here and there. But for the most part, I just won't. I refuse. Such lack of emotion. Maddie period was early in February. No supplies used. Then mom recalled. Yeah, Annie. See, I think that you're in agreement. or that the evidence is in agreement. And, sometimes people are irregular, so we got to leave that door open too. Just arriving, Nico says, what did I miss? You missed everything, sweetie. GoPro helmet. Thank you. Like, yeah, the helmet cam. That's what I was trying to think. Mine is on chest. There you go. Yeah. First time I was ever introduced to the GoPro was with Tyson Draper in the Suzanne Morphew case. And you guys know that the judge in the Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew case has been disbarred. And I fully expect there to be momentum in that Morphew case now that that is resolved, and maybe they can get on with the issues. I was wondering what was bogging it down, because I was pretty sure that it was still, in a holding pattern and that things would still happen with it. And that's 4.5 years. But that's typical, you guys. These cases take a long time. They don't get wrapped up in 3 days, Michael Rourke. They do not get wrapped up in 3 days. They take years, even when you have all the information right up front. It takes a long time to hammer out a case. You've got so many moving parts, and then you've got the corruption, and then you've got the people protecting other people, which is part of the corruption, whether that's internal or external. You've got all kinds of crap. And then, the sexism and the racism. I mean, and we're going to talk about the case with the Boston Police Department with Karen Reed, with Sandra Birchmore. And now, have you guys heard of this 25-year-old young man? What is his name? Enrique? I hope I have it handy. The guy who passed away a week ago in a training. Let's see. Oh, and then Mary Gray, that was just arrested, indicted today. This is a JLR thing that he just made a video a couple hours ago. So Colton Gray, the shooter whose father was arrested, his mother just got arrested. She didn't get arrested in connection to this case per se. She got arrested for elder abuse that is unbelievable against her own mother. She tied her up or duct taped her to a chair for 24 hours, you guys. And this is insane. This is totally insane. Is it Mary Gray or Marcy Gray? I think it's Marcy Gray. Sorry. Anyway, we got Micah being abused by white boy JP, and she's not white and she's female. We got Sandra Birchmore being abused by white boy Matthew Farwell, who had a badge and a gun and a license to ill with a K, which he did, and he got away with it for 3 years, he thought. I mean, he had to know right away, because I'm pretty sure he got put on an administrative leave like a month after she passed away. But it took 3 years, 3.5 years to get an arrest. 3.5 years. But he's law enforcement, and he's part of a very corrupt department. Stoughton PD is the same police department mixed up in the Karen Reed thing. And it's right next to, I have to look at my notes, where I have like 3 notebooks right now, right next to the department where this other guy, Enrique, the 25-year-old, was in a training, and he overreacted and ceased to breathe anymore in the hospital the next day. You guys know who I'm talking about? Marcy Gray is music. It might be Mary Gray. I can't read my writing sometimes. I know, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking of Marcy Gray, but it's Colton Gray's mom. So I'll put the link to JLR. But let me just look it up, lickety split, so I'm not talking all crazy talk. I mean, I know I'm talking all crazy talk. That's just my style, right? Let's see.
Hey there. I know you're in the middle of something, but I was wondering if we could just take a few seconds. Read some scripture.
Okay.
JLR investigates. I got some breaking news, everyone. Colt Gray's mom just got indicted. This is crazy, folks. The mother of Colt Gray. You know who Colt Gray is. Colt Gray is the Appalachian High School mass shooter, alleged. He got
you guys
arrested.
Can hear that,
his
right?
dad, Colin Gray. Terrible tragedy in Winder, Georgia, a few weeks back.
And it is Marcy.
Talking about the mom extensively, but she
okay, I'm going to turn that off. It is Marcy Gray, but it's spelled M-A-R-C-C. No, M-A-R-C-E-E Gray. And she has another last name, Marcy, spelled the same way, M-A-R-C-E-E, Polhamus, Polhamus. Again, I will put a link. This was just 2 hours ago that he dropped this short video, 5 minutes long. He is on fire, and I will put a link to that. And it's already gotten like 8,000 views almost. Go JLR. He's freaking amazing. So yeah, Marcy Gray, I would imagine that the singer, and I was registering that too, Nico. I was thinking, man, she's not going to like this very much at all, is she? Let's see. Her college was Kent State. She is that generation. Yeah. I just keep thinking of that Neil Young song. That's such a powerful song of his. She thinks FBI wants her. Oh, your friend does? Your friend that went to Kent State? I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff with the whole like McCarthy era and the commies and all of that. So if you were a protester, you were considered a commie. And, they thought the government thought it was a good thing to unalive the commies. So then they started interviewing the protesters under the guise of getting to the truth. But what they were really doing is trying to find out who the commies were, who were there. And so if you came to tell your story, then you were part of that criminal hive, so to speak. It gets so convoluted with all the gaslighting so quickly. And I think a lot of that is what's happening right now in Springfield, Ohio. So it's just a freaking hot mess. My husband's girlfriend's boyfriend was Filipino. He ate German Shepherds. Ugh, I know. See, my whole life I've hated hearing about this type of stuff. But I got to say, I do love the comedy on YouTube and TikTok. I mean, it's hilarious. Like the songs and stuff. I'll put one of the official YouTube song. I'll put a link to that in the description. And it's like a cartoon with the Simpsons with, Snowball and the Dasher. Is that the dog's name? Dasher, the little like wiener dog, and then the black cat named Snowball. No, Santa's Helper. Santa's Helper is the little wiener dog. And he's not a wiener dog. He's a German Shepherd. No, Greyhound, because he was a Greyhound rescue. See, my brain works. It's coming back. It's coming back to life. People from other countries and cultures eat what they eat. Some people have no issue whatsoever eating 3D printed meat. Oh my goodness, Nico, that's crazy. Yeah, and then there's this whole thing with like farmed fish where they feed them like maggots, and then people are eating the farmed fish that's grown from the fish eating the maggots. Like, I just can't even wrap my mind around it. Thank you for that crazy comment. Because yeah, that's true. That is true. They're even 3D printing organs so that you don't have to do so much trafficking with medical stuff with organs, right? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I mean, the trafficking in Ohio is out of control, and a lot of it goes back to organ harvesting as opposed to the other type, but it all ties together. Once they're done with the adult entertainment industry trafficking stuff, they go into the medical organ harvesting trafficking stuff. It's seamless. There, I said it. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, I mean, allegedly. Okay. I think my Friday Vietnamese sandwiches were snake or rat. Oh, stop. After I left the job, I realized the shape and size was no chicken. I ever so gullible. Annie, you're killing me. Remember that whole thing in the 70s with the rat poison, KFC eating? There were the stories about the rats at KFC who ate the rat poison and fell into the chicken batter. And then they got fried up and served as chicken. And then people ate them and died and sued KFC, which is probably why KFC has always struggled as far as making a killing in the fast food industry. I mean, they're still around because it is tasty. Although that whole rat thing, I mean, I was a kid and it made me nervous eating KFC. I was always very careful identifying. I probably only ate the wings and the drumsticks so that I would know that they were from a chicken. And I'm kind of still like that. Like I only want the wings, not the drumsticks. Okay. Nico, exactly. If you love animals, don't eat meat. Well, I love animals, but I do like to eat just kind of your typical American beef, pork, and chickens. So yeah, that's just me. I feel like I need the protein. So again, it's a personal choice that each of us makes, right? USA, we are a hypocritical society if I ever saw one. OMG, Jackie Bushable. Marcy Gray is music? Yes. And Marcy Gray has been arrested for elder abuse of her mother, duct taping her or tying her to a chair for 24 hours. Like, what a disgusting freak. No wonder her son is so twisted. Nico, I understand your perspective. I live in Cabo and completely supported the community when they needed gringo dogs to eat after our Cat 5 storm. Food first. Wow. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, no one's eaten my dogs, but I hear you, Annie. Yes, people that age are just a wee bit more paranoid generation. No wonder with what they witnessed. You're talking about the Kent State people. I saw that play, you guys. I was really fortunate because I got to take all 4 of my kids to see that play. All 4 of them. I think it was all 4 of them. It might have been 3 of them. The oldest one might have been off at college. She would not talk about Ohio, just no social media and no photos. Yeah, I mean, social media puts all of us at risk for stalkers. That's always been my opinion since it first started. I mean, it's also, it has a lot of good benefits and qualities too, but you always need to be careful and mindful. And wanted by FBI, she felt. Gotta go. Catch the rest on replay. Love you. Love you too, Sherry. Thank you kindly for being here. And yeah, thank you for taking my honest feedback, not personally, because it 100% was not at all personal. I was just saying in general that, that as content creators, I think that's how we all register when someone says, oh, be careful. We all think, is that a thinly veiled threat? And a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's people that care about you that are just reminding you to be careful. But I think any content creator is well aware of that type of stuff. I mean, come on, we're all in true crime. We're aware of it, whether we're content creators or not, right? 3D printing organs. Yes, Annie Ruler. Like my mom had kidney failure. And when her kidney failure started like 12 years ago, it was during Hurricane Sandy. I think that was 12 years ago. We're probably right at the anniversary almost. Wasn't it like late October 12 years ago? Anyway, she had kidney failure and she wouldn't accept a kidney from me or my sister because she just wouldn't. We wanted to see if we were a match, but she wouldn't allow it. And she was talking about having a kidney 3D printed, and we thought she was nuts because, honestly, she was a little nuts. But she was also ahead of her time. Very quickly, they were printing 3D organs right after that. And you guys know that my younger son is a 3D printing genius. not with that type of stuff, but like the armadillo and the kitty cats and stuff. I've got them down here, but I'm not gonna grab them because I'm trying to stay focused. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I've got all these notes. So what the heck is that? I apologize that I have the 3 notebooks. Let me see if I can find without having to look in my phone the name of the guy that was beat up and overreacted and passed away. So I want to talk more about this guy too. So I'm just going to look it up real quick. And let's see. And then you guys heard about the Kentucky sheriff who shot the judge in the judge's chambers during an argument in Whitesburg, Kentucky, and then turned himself in. That is so effing crazy. So effing crazy. Let's see. I have his name right here, but am I going to be able to see it? Yes. Enrique Delgado Gonzalez is a state trooper that passed away outside of Boston. So Enrique Gonzalez, I need to Google him to find out the name of the police department, because it's right next to Stoughton and Canton. And I was around that area when I went to Nantucket Island and Boston area, because my boyfriend was from Pembroke, Boston area, which is right next to all this stuff. It's all just a bunch of small towns all strung together. Let's see. So this law enforcement training that he died in was a boxing match, and he was a college graduate. He had worked for a year and a half in the DA's office as a victim advocate. And so he was a Massachusetts State Police recruit. He's from Worcester. And yeah, I'm going to be looking into this one a lot more. And I'll put a link to this. So we had a medical crisis I'll just read you this real quick, during a defensive tactics exercise, alleged. He passed away the next day after he became unresponsive and suffered a medical crisis during this defensive tactics training exercise. This was just a few days ago, maybe a week at the most. So he had broken teeth and a broken neck from a boxing training. That's all on videotape, you guys. It's all freaking on videotape. So New Braintree, Massachusetts, a Massachusetts State Police recruit died a day after he became unresponsive and suffered a medical crisis during a defensive tactics training exercise, authorities said. Enrique Delgado Garcia, 25, died at a hospital on Friday, a day after the exercise at the Massachusetts State Police Academy in New Braintree. Department spokesperson Tim McGurk said in a statement Friday night. New Braintree is about 80 miles northeast of Boston. Okay, but the area that I'm glad to know that, the area that he was the DA's victim advocate is southwest of Boston, right next to Stoughton and Canton. Like the 3 of them are like 3 in a row. McGurk said the State Academy's on-site medical team responded immediately after Delgado Garcia became unresponsive. They determined that he required urgent medical care and took him to the hospital where he died. I think it was retaliation for some of the work that he did as a victim's advocate. That's just a guess right off the bat, in my opinion. Delgado Garcia's mother told reporters with Boston and Telemundo that he was hit and injured. I don't understand why it was so rough if it was just training, because it wasn't a friendly fight like Scammy, right? Sandra Garcia said in Spanish, I want them to explain it to me, that the state explains to me what happened with my son. Why did he hit him so hard that it killed him? That it destroyed his brain and broke all of my son's teeth, and that he had a neck fracture too, my son. Unbelievable. Such police training can cover a range of physical encounters to defend against tackles, punches, and other attacks. And you guys know my husband was attacked not that long ago on the job, and that person, I think that trial is in a few days, actually. He's been doing a lot of preparations for that. McCurk did not specify the type of exercise Delgado Garcia took part in. McCurk told the Associated Press in an email that Delgado Garcia was a Worcester resident and he had entered the training program in April. The class would graduate October 9th. Massachusetts State Police administered the oath of office in Enrique Delgado's final hours of life. He was surrounded by families, loved ones, and classmates during the bilingual ceremony, which culminated in him being pinned with his trooper badge. Well, they're going to be held responsible, the training facility, for sure. And it's all on videotape, so that's good. That'll help. I just think that this whole area of Stoughton and Canton and, the area near Pembroke where Delgado had done the victim advocacy work, I think it's rife with insanity, with corruption. Absolutely. Delgado Garcia will be transported from the hospital to the medical examiner's facility in Westfield, he said, but added that the timing of the transport hasn't been confirmed. The matter is under review, and the review has been active and ongoing since we were notified of the incident on Thursday. Lindsay Corcoran, a spokesperson for the Worcester County DA's office, said in a statement Saturday. Delgado Garcia once worked as a victim witness advocate in that office. I think that's where he stepped on someone's toes, so to speak. He told the truth when somebody didn't want the truth to be out there. A spokesperson, truth tellers, especially in Boston, Salem, Massachusetts, truth tellers have been burned at the stake and hung historically. That's why true crime is treated the way it's treated from the YouTuber inventors. A spokesperson for the state police, in my opinion, Association of Massachusetts, directed questions on what happened to Delgado Garcia to the state police department. Just keep passing the buck. Colonel John Mon Jr. of the state police said in a statement that his department is committed to provide support and resources to trainee Delgado Garcia's family, friends, and fellow academy recruits in the coming days and weeks. That just reminded me of Scammy too. In the coming days and weeks. We're really good friends in the coming weeks. As they cope with this unimaginable loss, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey issued a statement saying she was heartbroken about the loss of Delgado Garcia. He was a beloved member of his academy class, known for his compassion and devotion to service. This is a devastating time for all who knew and loved him, and we are holding Enrico's family and his state police community in our hearts. And he also had a bachelor's degree, which might have made him a target, the way I believe that Koberger in Idaho 4 might have been a target of other coworkers because of his higher education. Because most law enforcement agencies do not require anything other than a high school diploma and a police academy training, which is usually can be as short as 4 months long, you guys. A lot of them are 9 months long, and some require an associate's degree, but not many. Some require a bachelor's degree, but that's very, very far and few between. So the fact that this guy had a bachelor's degree and then he's a victim advocate telling the truth, possibly, hopefully, I mean, that was his job. But see, a lot of times those advocate positions are not to get to the truth. It's actually quite the opposite. It's just the long arm of the government, so the government gives the witness or the victim a quote unquote advocate to basically keep an eye on them, take their temperature, and keep them in line and have control over them. In my humble opinion, I worked in the court appointed special advocate office in Seattle, Washington. So that's my opinion from my hands-on experience. I never understood that stuff until I lived it. Let's see. I think that's about it. All right, I'm going to set that down and keep up with you guys. Anna Bees, hello. I'm scratching one of my bee stings. One is on my hip right here where I'm scratching, and one is on my thigh, and you're not supposed to scratch them, right? I've also been putting like steroid cream, hydrocortisone cream on them. And I'm very late. I'm watching, but I will watch the first part later. Yeah, that's what I had to do with part of the What's the Obsession 2-hour live last night. I was there at the beginning, and then I missed part, and then I caught the end. So I'm still trying to fill in the middle there. Because it was good. I don't want to miss any of it. Was there a song played when the accident happened? I shot the sheriff. Annie Ruler. No, it was the sheriff who shot the judge, but that's a good one, girl. You are funny. And then just so people know that sheriff turned himself in immediately. The judge was, I want to say, 54 years old and a father of 2 or 3 kids and married. And then the sheriff, I want to say, was like 42. And I don't know his family marital status, but at least he turned himself in immediately and is cooperative. But I don't know the story. They were arguing about something. And who knows how long they'd been arguing. Again, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and guess that the judge had been doing some truth seeking that the sheriff didn't like. That's my guess. That's my educated guess. A lot of departments don't like the freaking truth. And, the courts are supposed to be out for the truth, but a lot of times they're working in unison together. So then if they're not working in unison, then people might get the misfortune of becoming unalived, right? And it's not always so direct and immediate and obvious, and people don't always turn themselves in. A lot of times people are what I call, they get Karen Silkwooded, right? They get run off the road. They have a heart attack, all kinds of crazy crap. They're the victim of some quote unquote random violence, which that's rare. People are not usually victims of random violence. Violence is usually targeted. Absolutely. Worcester, Massachusetts is pronounced Worcester. Thank you, Worcester. I'm like, we're Worcestershire sauce. Thank you, Nico. We have a Worcester in Ohio that's spelled the proper way. No, I love Boston. Boston is a phenomenal city. The Massachusetts state is an absolutely magnificent state. There's so much rich history there. And you got Cape Cod, you got Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. It's just a gem. It's an absolute gem. And it's highly populated. And it's a very democratic state. It always votes blue. I think like 100% historically. I don't know. I'd have to look. Google knows, but Google's not always right. Any ruler says, okay, victim advocated someone. I wonder what would have been supported by the fleet. There were special senior graduate folks there, if I remember right. And Annie Ruler, I'm really wondering if it ties in with the Karen Reed case. It could even tie in with the Sandra Birchmore case, but I'm guessing the Karen Reed case because of the timing and because of the geographical close proximity. You know, these are small towns. These things do not happen in vacuums. It could very well be interconnected. I don't know. I have to go to the hospital. Oh, I hope everything's okay, Anna B. Oh, if I got stung. Okay. Yeah. I know I'm lucky that I don't need that. And you're not wrong, Jazz. Self-unaliving happens a lot. Right. And the kind of self-unaliving where people like punch themselves in the face, give themselves black eyes and break their own teeth before they then hang themselves, right? Okay. So, cannibalism, you guys. Maybe I shouldn't have said that word. Maybe that's going to be a buzzword that activates YouTube to start roboting my channel at the moment. So there's a lot of that. So that's one of the things that the Haitians allegedly have escaped from by leaving their home country of Haiti. So there's a lot of gang activity there, and apparently it's not the pets that people are worried about, it's the persons. And you know that there's a name. Some of you will not be surprised by this. Others, like I was when I first found out about a year ago, I was absolutely shocked. Don't put this in the chat, please. It's called long pig. Have you ever heard of long pig? That's what they call that meat. You know, like the kind of meat that they ate at the Donner Party. They were all feasting on long pig. Need I say more? So why is there even a name for it? Unless it's a thing. So there's a lot of us that have been suspicious for a long time that it's what the elites do. Historically, go back to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? And Rocky and Meatloaf and what that whole flippin' musical was about. It's a great musical, great acting, great everything. But that's what it was about. That's what the elite British used to do for entertainment, allegedly. And I'm going to guess it might be what they still do for entertainment, allegedly, is scare the F out of people or children, chase them around the house, and then what happened to Meatloaf and what they tried to do to Rocky in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's see. Okay, Annie Ruler. Victim advocated someone. I wondered what would have been supported by the fleet. There were special senior graduated folks there, if I remembered right. And I don't think I highlighted that one. I might have highlighted it and then highlighted the one after it, but I'm going to go back and highlight that one because that one is to be focused on some more. Yes, that's crazy that people do that to themselves. Anna B's, you're funny. The thing about, punching themselves in the face before then hanging them. Wait a minute. The Haitians were coming from South America and abandoned their passports, or many of them, but wanted better than where they settled. Anyone else remember this? Deported? I do not know about this, Annie Ruler. But yeah, it's entirely possible. By saying it seems it was a planned blanket party. Thank you. Annie Ruler is on it. So Annie's spouse worked in the same King County Superior Courthouse that I worked in. So we've seen a lot. let's see. And I worked there back right before Y2K. Yeah, right before Y2K. I was not employed there anymore by the time Y2K rolled around. But for a couple of years prior to that, I'd been working in the King County mental health courts, and then I worked in the King County family court. And that's all I need to say about that. And then I went to the sentencing hearing for Mia Zapata's Red Rummer, whose name I will not say. But I went to his sentencing hearing in that same courthouse when I was pregnant with the one who is working in Arlington Cemetery right now. So he was in utero, and I had my oldest toddler with me to be at that sentencing hearing. And if you ever see the documentary of that, you'll see me in there with my lime green shirt and a white skirt and holding the hand of a 2-year-old. And I was sitting right behind him. That piece of crap who allegedly passed away from COVID a couple of years ago. But I think he was hired. I don't think that was random. I think he was hired. Okay, that's all I'm saying about that. Okay, we're staying focused. There's so much effery in the world. Self-unaliving happens a lot. Yeah, it's easy to make it look like self-unaliving, especially if you attach a note and say, yeah, I self-unalived, right? Sorry, not sorry. No. Like again, I said I wasn't going to talk about that guy, and I'm not talking about that guy, but I'm talking about Seattle Kurt Cobain and his note. That was ridiculous. You guys know the handwriting on that note was not his handwriting. I don't know, maybe he dictated to somebody close to him to write it for him, but I don't think so. But he didn't write it. It wasn't his sentences. It wasn't his handwriting. It wasn't his thought process. Nothing about it was Kurt Cobain. And he was definitely depressed, and he had a history of addiction. So it's really easy if somebody has a history of depression and addiction, it's really easy to make it look like an overdose or purposely intentional self, right? It's all too easy. Okay. Annie Ruler. You guys are the bomb. I love when you both are here because you're so much like each other. It's almost like you're friends. You're probably just internet friends, right? You probably watch and comment on a lot of the same live streams, not just mine, but others. And I'm so honored to have all of you here. You guys, thank you, each and every one of you. And those of you that aren't here that are on the replay crew, I'm really honored that people watch my videos, especially when I'm all crazy, just bouncing off the freaking walls because it's been too long since I've made anything. And so I got to talk about 100 cases all at once. And we're just at an hour and 15 minutes, and I am feeling like we're just getting started. But let me keep drinking my coffee so my brain keeps working. Because it's held together with spit and duct tape at the moment. So by saying senior were there, it seems it was a planned blanket party. So Annie, you're talking about the boxing match, the training. That's so insane. And yeah, I really appreciate that comment. The comment before it is a little too much for me to address because it's out of my realm of expertise. You know, a lot of stuff is out of my realm of expertise. And so I pick up my phone and I Google, or I look at my notes, or I refer to other people's videos. But this is something that I barely know nothing about. So I'm going to read it again. Wait a minute. The Haitians were coming from South America. So I read that the first time with a question mark, but no, it's an exclamation point. And abandoned their passports, or many of them, but wanted better than where they had settled. Anyone else remember this? Deport. So yeah, that whole thing. I mean, the Haitian community in Springfield has helped with this city that dissolved from roughly 100,000 to roughly 50,000 over the course of like 20 some odd years ish. Now the population is back over 60,000. So I don't even think it's 20,000 migrants. And we know most of them are legal, not all, but most. Um, I think it's closer to 12,000, but it's a range. It's like 10 to 20,000 because people aren't sure. And there's certainly a trafficking element going on. And that is what's good that that is getting addressed and looked at because in my opinion, they're being exploited. And that's disgusting. That they come from a desperate situation, maybe two desperate situations, that they went from the fire to the frying pan and then to another fire or another frying pan. It's harsh. And then when people talk about this little boy that was expired in a really bad school bus accident a year ago, it was the first day of school and he was 11 years old. And the driver that caused that accident was an illegal person from Haitian who did not have a license and was driving recklessly. People keep talking about all the accidents in Springfield, but I don't know that there's any more than 25% of the accidents that people from that country are responsible for. There's a lot of accidents in Springfield because it's a crowded city and there's a lot of chaos. Just like there's a lot of accidents in Dayton. It's also a crowded city with a lot of chaos. So, yeah, I don't know. But to talk about that little boy is very upsetting for his mother and father who already lost their child on his first day of school last year. And they do not want him used as a poster child in any way, shape, and form with this whole political stuff. And it has been used as a selling point, like with television commercials and stuff. And the family is horrified and offended, and it's painful. It's like rubbing salt in an open wound. You know, they don't want anything to do with that. So we're not going to talk about that. That is a sad situation, but it doesn't have anything to do with anything else. I mean, you guys know that my friend was also expired in a car accident, and he was T-boned by a local 39-year-old white woman who was drunk AF at 6 o'clock on a Thursday evening this past May. And this happened in Springfield too. And she T-boned the whole family, and my friend was driving and he did not make it. He made it to the hospital and that was it. And then he expired, and his wife and kids were hideously injured and they have survived. But that woman has not even been in jail. I mean, she was in jail for a minute, but yeah, we don't need to politicize these things. I mean, she obviously has connections, in my opinion, but like I said, that's just to balance out bringing up the thing with the Haitian driver, because when people bring that up, I'm like, well, let's bring up this thing. Let's bring up this thing that happened. I think it was like May 26th or something. It was right at the end of the school year. Thursday night, 6 o'clock. They were on their way to the high school play. So, all right. His fingerprints were not on the rifle. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Annabise. Wait a second. Kurt Cobain. You're talking about Kurt Cobain. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think anybody's were, right? Wasn't it like wiped clean? Like that's always a good indicator of foul play right there when nothing is found. And not in a place. Oh, Nico, did you mean to delete all of Anna B's stuff? What are you doing? Was that an accident? Nico, seriously, what's going on? Um, what is going on? I'm going to unhide. I want to see the so they should stop showing those commercials. Okay. Yeah, Nico, I'm going to guess that was an accident, sweetie. That's so. Should I call you on the phone? Like, what in the world? That's kind of upsetting. I'm calling you, Nico, because I know that that's happened a lot where you have done that accidentally. Yeah, I'm on live. What did you do with it? Oh my God, I'm going to freaking kill you. Okay, well, I'm glad to know. Thank you. I am going to freaking kill you, and then we're going to be the subject of a whole bunch of YouTube videos. No, I'm just glad to know. Okay, I'm going to hang up, sweetie. Thank you. Thank you for modding, and thank you for answering so that I know, and I'll explain it. Okay, cool. Love you. Bye. You guys, that is too funny. What a disaster. Thank goodness she picked up. Okay, Annabes, it was a complete accident. It was like a butt dial kind of thing. Nico is very, very sorry. And I'm going to try to read all of them out loud. So, how ridiculous. I'm going to have to unmod you, Nico, because this has happened so many freaking times. You're just, you're all thumbs, girl? And it's really hard to do this because you have to like undelete them one by one. View deleted message. That's crazy that people do that to themselves. Man, it's so annoying. This YouTube is so annoying. Because it won't stop messing with me. Like I have to do it one by one. It's messing up my live, Nico. You're going to pay. Okay, you guys, when this thing happens between me and Nico, promise me you'll make good videos about it, right? Oh, you know I'm kidding. Oh my goodness. I think let's see. Okay, so now I think I can read them all. So annoying. And not in a place that it would land if you just pew pew yourself. Okay, so you're still talking about Kurt Cobain. And yeah, I thought maybe you said something that Nico was worried about, and that was why it happened. But I also know Nico has a very bad history of butt dialing or whatever you want to call it. I call it the fat thumbs. You know, like she was getting a manicure one time and she did this to somebody. I hope it wasn't you, Annabes, because that would be really annoying. But seriously, I love you, Nico, but you're the worst mod ever. We'll talk later. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the whole thing with Kurt Cobain. So it wasn't possible. The thing was the pew pew was too long and he didn't do it with his toe. And yeah, the level of the substance that he allegedly had injected into himself was like 7 times the amount that he would have been so fast asleep and passed away from that but he would have been already asleep before he could have ever pew-pewed himself or anybody else. That whole thing was bizarre and ridiculous. And like I said, at the time, I didn't really pay attention because I wasn't a Nirvana fan. I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time that it happened. I had said that I lived in Olympia up until about 92, 93. 93 was the year that I moved from Olympia, Washington to Portland, Oregon. And then 94, we moved to San Francisco. And it happened with Kurt Cobain when we were living in Portland, right before we moved to San Francisco. I want to say it was like April of 93. I'd have to look it up, but you guys probably know off the top of your head anyway. So, and when that happened, he had just had that incident in Greece 2 months earlier in February, and he almost didn't make it, but he did make it. But that whole thing was suspicious too. Like it was right around his anniversary, and I don't think it was what it looked like it was. And because it was like he didn't try to roofie himself to death. I don't believe that. And that's what the substance was. It was like a Spanish fly that he almost OD'd on, but the medics were able to save him that time. And so then the next time it was an OD combined with a pew-pew, and nobody could save him, and nobody found him for like a week. And then that private eye, Tom, what's his last name? The private eye that was hired to find him, who did find him. And he's written a book about it. It was the last case he ever took. But no, he didn't find Kurt Cobain. The electrician found him. He was hired to find him, but he didn't find him because of where he was. PI who was hired, I just can't remember Tom's last name. Tom Grant. Yeah, I knew it was something kind of all-American sounding. So Tom Grant, you guys, if you know who Tom Grant is, he knows what's up. He knows the score. It was all over the news, videos under bridges, and I'm not sure what Annie Ruler is referring to with the situation with South America and going from the fire to the fry pan to the other fire fry pan. They were not via boat. It's very sad. Haiti, not Haitian. Thank you, Nico. You're still talking to me? So they should stop showing those commercials. Oh, yeah, I think they did, but I don't know. The family spoke out and asked them, pleaded for them to stop showing those commercials, but I don't know if they did or not. So I sure hope so. I mean, again, how horrifying for them to have lost their son and then to have all this bring it back up an entire year later when that first year is going to be the hardest. I mean, I can't even imagine. And then the anniversary of it just happened because the anniversary of it was right around September 1st. So as they were bracing for the anniversary of it, this commercial came out, and that's just unbelievable. The heartache, my heart breaks for them. So I don't know if people quit commenting because of the problem here with the moderator and everybody got scared or what. Replace pinned message. So okay, it just, see, it froze it up. You guys have been commenting a lot. Okay, where'd it go? Nico, I'm so glad I saw this. Okay, so I highlighted where Anna B's, this was the last one that showed, which is like 11 minutes ago. So they should stop showing those commercials. Like YouTube has so many freaking glitches. Okay, so then Nico says, and this is, I'm very glad to be able to read this out loud for Anna B's and everybody else. No, I am not blocking Anna Bean. I love her. That's sweet. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to wrap this up. It went south. I can still see my comments. Okay, Anna Bees. Yeah, my thing locked up. It's my stupid phone, Nico says. I tried to unhide. Love you too, Nico. Anna Bees says. I'm pretty sure I was framed. Now, are you kidding or you're not kidding? Because that could be either way. Anna B says it's okay. Late but here, Beck says, hey, everyone. Hey, sweetie. Can I have an award? Oh, here, let me, I'll award you with your wrench. Let's see, because I took it away for a second just to try to fix it. So let me see. And there's your award. So you're re-wrenched. If you comment again, your wrench should show up again. I just took it off thinking that would help get the scroll rolling and get Anna B's stuff back up. So that was really a pain. Let's see. April 1994. Thank you, Nico Mingo. Yes, I moved from Portland, Oregon, right around May or June of 94 to San Francisco. So thanks for straightening me out on that. So confusing. So I lived in Portland, Oregon from 93 to 94. So I lived in Olympia, Washington from about 87 until 93. So 6 years. So I went to school there. I met my husband. We tied the knot, and then we moved to Portland so I could continue my education there. And then I went to graduate school in San Francisco. And then we went back up to Seattle area. And that's when I worked at Cassette Mental Health and then for King County. And then I did private practice and all this other stuff. And then I came back to Ohio to raise my children. And now they're being raised. Some of them are already out of the nest. Nico award. Anna, he put you on mute by accident. You were off mute. Let's see. Bex, we need you. Annie Ruler is it's all good. Okay. Annie was not muted. She was the target. So, oh, Granny Annie. So you have the two accounts, right? Annie Ruler and Oh, Granny Annie. Target of what? I'm so confused. Granny watches commercials I forgot to change for jazz. Oh, cute. I'm a wrench. I'm a wretch. No. Yay, Nico. Party on, Garth. Let's see. Annie has YouTube subscription, so no commercials and other perks, no cable. Ah. I thought Annie Ruler and Granny Annie were the same person. Yeah, aren't they? I think they are, Anna Bees. Okay, let's see. We're just over an hour and a half, and let me drink my coffee that I'm still holding. I don't think I drank it because that whole train wreck happened when I picked it up to try to drink it. And which of my kitties is here? Come here, baby. Oh, Nala hates being picked up. So I've got this giant cat, Mittens. He's like 20 pounds and he loves to be picked up. If he came in, I could pick him up and show you. If I pick up Nala, she might hurt me. But she's meowing. Come here, baby. Let's try this. Come here, baby. Nala. No. Okay, you keep going then. It's too high risk. I can't risk it. I don't want to get cut. Don't make me cut you, right? Oh, Granny Annie says, channel is a character. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so some people have more than one profile so that they can argue with themselves in social media. We all know this, right? I call it sock profiles, kind of like sock puppets. And then they also, not only do they like to argue with themselves, like that's not crazy. They also like to like bolster themselves up and say, oh my God, you're so smart. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you. You're a genius. And no, I'm not me. I'm not talking to myself. This is somebody else saying all this great stuff about me. I'm just like, man, how can people waste their time with that stuff? Like, you should just be able to have one account and communicate and do your thing and not be trying to like I mean, it's a manipulation tactic. You're trying to gaslight people into thinking that you're arguing, that you're shooting down an idea, or that you're bolstering and supporting an idea. Total manipulation and gaslighting. And then in a social media platform. Okay, so where else should we go with this derailed live? Thanks again for being here, everybody. Let's see. I feel like I say that a lot to creators, but I really do agree with you all. LOL. Funny. Yeah, I know. I agree with like Kelly on What's the Obsession on a lot of things, not on everything. Her opinion and my opinion about some points of the case are different. I think with Amber Truth Seeker, ATS News, if you guys are familiar with her channel, she also covers What's the Obsession in depth. And her and Kelly, I think, are good, like content creator friends. They like each other. But they have different ideas. And I think I'm more in line with Amber Truth Seeker's theories about what went down. So I'm not sure that we're 100% because rarely are you ever going to be 100% with anybody on anything, right? I mean, there's usually going to be some difference. So, I think it's good to support the differences and I mean, it really enhances the conversation, the discussion, and the debate when there are kind of some hair splitting issues where you agree on almost everything, but not everything. So, like Amber Truth Seeker and What's the Obsession, she thinks that NK had her sights on the Watts family before she ever met them, which is substantiated by the fact that she Googled Shanann Watts and Chris Watts in the fall of 2017. And then their story, Chris Watts and NK's, is that they didn't meet until 2018, and then they didn't start dating until late spring, early summer of 2018, and then in 6 weeks, his whole family was deceased, right? Okay. Right. So I think that she knew of them. And she obviously is a liar because she said she didn't know Shanann's name when she first met Chris, but she looked Shanann up, I think, before she even looked up Chris. But she looked up both of them September of 2017. Maybe Chris, she looked up August of 2017, like an entire year before the family is unalived. So she might have already met Chris. They might have already been dating or flirting or whatever. But my theory, and this is where I think I differ from Amber Truth Seeker, I have come across a lot of information in that case that NK met Shanann Watts when she was doing a fitness challenge at the children's hospital that Shanann worked at. So I think Shanann worked overnight shifts at the children's hospital. And I think she just did like telephone work, but I'm not sure. But she definitely had a job where she was employed at the children's hospital there in Colorado. And she also definitely organized this 12-week fitness challenge. And Nicole definitely participated in this 12-week fitness challenge, in my opinion. I've seen all the receipts for this, but I've had so much problems with my computers dying, which again, I don't know if that's just bad luck or if that's being targeted and shadow banned. So a lot of my information I've had to research again and document it again. And this is why I talk off the top of my head a lot. I try not to say anything that I'm not pretty sure of. And if I am shaky about it, I'll say that I'm shaky about it. But I'm pretty sure that all of that is true and accurate. But I don't think that Kelly and Amber would agree with me on that. I don't know. It'd be a good thing for me to talk about with Kelly. And I get very active in ATS chats because I love her lives. They're great. But I think it was recently in one of their chats that they were saying that they didn't think that that's how they didn't think Nicole and Shanann met that way, that they didn't meet. And maybe they didn't, but I think that they at least knew of each other. And it's my theory, this is just a theory, that maybe Shanann offended NK. Maybe NK wanted to buy some of her product or something. You know, she was in that fitness challenge and Shanann came across as like she thought she was superior to NK. In my opinion, she is superior to NK, but she might have pissed NK off. And then NK decided to do like the single white female thing and go after her and ruin her life. Maybe that's one of my theories. So anyway, a tangent there, sort of, because one of the other theories is that NK set her sights on Chris Watts because he was such a doofus. And this is Amber Truth Seekers, I think, pretty much, that it wasn't just NK, it was her friend Jim and a crew of other people who were all trying to make this happen so that they could obtain millions of dollars from Anadarko for the family being blowed up on the property. And like I said, this is Amber Truth Seekers theory, mostly, I think. I don't want to be like misquoting her, but I don't think Kelly shares that same opinion about that possibility. And again, I don't want to misquote her either. But what was so brilliant in Kelly's live last night, and why I had to jump in there and share this with you guys, is that D.A. Rourke said, and I wish I could quote it. I think I wrote it down, but which book did I write it down in? Let's see. I thought I wrote it down in this book. Let's see if it's in that one. It's so annoying when I have too many books. Was it in this one? I told you I have 3, but I actually have 4, and that's just stupid. No, I didn't write it in that one. And then I drop it onto the ground because now I have like some shelves in front of me to try to help with when I'm reaching for things. Yeah, I think my brain is melting. So D.A. Rourke said something to the effect of, this is the version of the truth that Chris Watts confessed to was that he didn't think it was the truth. It was the only thing that Chris Watts was willing to admit to, basically. So he said this really early on in the case. But then he hung his hat and closed the case with this story from Chris Watts that he thought was a lie all along. And that's just freaking crazy. That is absolutely insane. And I know I wrote it down while I was in her live, but now I can't freaking find it, and it's so annoying. And yeah, I guess I should just wrap it up because my brain, I can't go this long. I was going to try to like go for my all-time longest video, which would have to be like another 45 minutes. I can't do that. My brain is fried. Dang it. I know I wrote it down. Where the heck did I write it down? So as I was looking through Kelly's What's the Obsessions videos, she had one from a month ago where she used the song of Sinead O'Connor's, like one Last Drink Before the War. Do you guys remember that song? That's an amazing song. And the way she used it with the beginning of this is a video that's about a month old, I think, and it has like 25,000 views. So it was a really good video. And it's probably like a 2.5 hour live, I think. And I was just blown away at her selection. And she got it licensed so that she could use it. But then they gave her grief with that. She had to buy the license twice. I was going to ask her about that. Anyway, so the whole thing with DA Rourke at the end of her live last night that I jumped up onto her panel to discuss was it was the one thing that not only did Kelly and I agree on it completely, but we agreed with DA Rourke completely, which is like mind blowing for either of us that either of us agreed with him about anything. So he says that he doesn't believe that the version of events that Chris Watts confessed to was true and accurate. It was just another lie that he was willing to admit to. And then this whole case congealed on this known freaking lie. And that's not okay. They need to reopen the case. And I understand where Shanann's family could get really nervous that Chris could get sprung based on that the DA says that he knows it was a lie. Like that could totally screw everything up right there. Seriously. And I think that Chris needs to stay behind bars for the rest of his life. I don't think he even deserves to breathe. But one of the things I said in Kelly's live last night, because it just dawned on me as we were having this discussion in the wee hours of the night, is that Shanann's family, they already lost Shanann. They already lost the 3 babies. They couldn't conceive of losing the son-in-law too that they once endeared, and that he was like the one material thing that they could project all of their emotion onto about this horrific loss. Whereas if he was eliminated by the death sentence or, other prisoners, the way like Jeffrey Dahmer was eliminated, the whole family would just be like gone in the wind, right? Gone with the wind and up in smoke. And that would make it even harder for Shanann's family. Like they really need to have Chris alive and in prison in their grieving process, in my opinion. That's extremely important. And I think that when people talk about prosecuting NK, that they get really nervous that that's going to shake things up, and that security of having Chris behind bars for the rest of his life could become jeopardized. And I don't think that it would, but you just never know. You never know. Things can go awry. Let's see. I feel like I say that a lot. Okay, read that one. That was the last one I highlighted. Yeah, well, my channel, Parents Showing Monkeys, I don't mix true crime yet, right? Granny Annie says, I do true crime likes on Annie Ruler and commercials for people I like. I think NK stalked them. Anna Bees, that's what I think. If you guys remember that movie that Jane Fonda's niece, Bridget Fonda, was in, Single White Female. It wasn't Ally McSheedy the one who stalked her? Or was it? No, it wasn't Ally McSheedy. It was, it's going to bother me because I can think of her face, but not her name. Single White Female. And, I brought that up with Paula Plunder a long time ago. And she was like, yeah, I've talked about that in one of my videos. Like early on, she talked about the single white female thing. Sue. God, it's annoying. Jennifer Jason Leigh was who played the psycho. Okay. Bridget Fonda. Oh, and Steven Weber was in that. Okay. So Jennifer Jason Leigh becomes Bridget Fonda's roommate and is out to completely destroy everything about her. And the more I familiarized myself with this case the first time around, I started to formulate that opinion that it was like a single white female kind of thing, that NK was hyper focused on blowing Shanann up, figuratively speaking, but then in the end, literally speaking too. And that Chris was just a tool to get to Shanann, who was her target. Maybe. If you guys saw the movie, you'd understand. But like I said, I brought that up with Paula Plunder, and she told me, yeah, I already did a video on that like a year prior to when we had this discussion, which was years ago before I started my channel. And yeah, a lot of people have thought that and said that about what Anna B said, that she thinks NK stalked them. She stalked Shanann, she stalked Chris, and Chris was an easy target. And Nico says, I think NK is a serial killer and stalker. And I love the way you misspelled it on purpose to fit with the, the community standards of YouTube. Yeah, she's totally a stalker. Right? I watched this guy, D'Angelo, and he said that bots are in chats and start arguing in chat and put up those types of comments in other language, and YouTube has the translate comment thing. He says, do not click that. Yes, Annabes, when I first started my channel, I got nailed with those bots all the time. It was so annoying. So it's nice that they lay off after they bombard you with that in the beginning. I guess they're just testing you to see if you can tolerate this whole YouTube thing, because there's a lot of BS you have to put up with and persevere. He says they can get your info. Well, of course they can. Of course they can. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, AI. 100%. Chris is still off 3 people. It just may add another player or more. So, I don't like to belabor that point, because whether he offed them himself or not, he was absolutely a part of a conspiracy at the very least. And he was cooperative, and then he covered for them, in my opinion, allegedly. So I still think he needs to be where he is. But I'm not so sure that he, with his own hands, offed any of them. I mean, and to think that I agree with his mother on anything is almost unheard of, because I despise her and I think she is vile. And I know that, like, my friend Kelly has a very different opinion of her. But Cindy Watts, I think she was poisoning Chris and Shanann's connection before they even got married. And then, the family didn't show up at the wedding, and then they didn't show up at Cece's birthday right before, like weeks before the unaliving. And I think that really hurt Chris on a really deep level, both the boycotting his wedding and boycotting his toddler's 3rd birthday. Like, that was effed up. So the way I see it is like Chris kind of finished what Cindy started, in a sense, that Cindy was like metaphorically unaliving Shanann for all the years that she knew her. And I feel very strongly about that opinion too. I don't articulate that too often, but yeah. I think that NK was involved. I think Jim was involved. I even think Troy McCoy was involved. And then I think NK's friend Charlotte, that was staying with her that weekend, was involved. So I think at least that handful of people right there were all involved. And then you could tie that in with Amber Truth Seeker's theory. I do not trust Troy McCoy at all. If you guys don't know who he is, he was the guy that Chris met with at like a grocery store parking lot Friday night before the unalivings to show him his fire stick. And, the argument is like, yeah, that was just Chris watching like cable sports for free and showing his friend how to do that. I think the Fire Stick was more like a remote control kind of thing that was going to be used to blow up Survey 319. And that Troy McCoy was also out at the site the morning that all of this happened, Monday. What was the date? August 13th, I think, of 2018. Is that right? Something like that. I might be off by a day or two. Help me out here if you want. The Watts case, I want to be right about that date. Let's see. August 13th, 2018. Woohoo, I nailed it. Okay, brain's still working. Thank you. So Troy McCoy was out there at the site, Survey 319, I want to say by 7:30 in the morning. And then when all this was going down, he went back out there, I think on Tuesday. And, the police had already told him not to go out there, but he went out there and he got caught, and they were very mad with him, very angry, very suspicious. And I think that was not displaced anger and suspicion. Like, why the F would you go out there unless you're up to no good? That whole thing with the rake head that was like sticking in the sand near where Shanann's remains were. I think that rake head was a marker for somebody to do something. Yeah. And then NK with the texting Chris, like, prove to me that you were out there this morning. He took a photograph of 319, Survey 319, and texted that to her. And then she asked him to send her the lyrics to the Metallica song Battery, that some of those lyrics are like unalive the family. It's just freaking BS. And then when law enforcement asks him about that numerous times, especially when they went back to talk to him at the Dodge detention facility in Wisconsin, to ask him about all of the activity, all the Vivint activity recorded on the basement steps and the door to the basement, because they were inferring that was more than one person. It was too many steps for one person just to be going up and down a million times. And that's when Chris said, "Oh, I don't think I was working out that morning. I don't think I worked out that morning." Yeah, right. Like, after you did all this, yeah, okay. You might remember whether you worked out that morning. So she also asked him, why did you send the lyrics of Battery to Nicole? And he was like, well, because she just really likes the song and she knows that I know a lot about that band. It's just like so much effery. So much effery. So yeah, Annabise, I think that you are right about D'Angelo and the bots. And we're going to start winding down. I'm not going to make my all-time record. That's all right. Here I am at 2 hours. I hardly ever even hit 2 hours. And it's not like I want to go on for 2 hours, because I think I usually cover enough in 1 hour. And then I'm usually out of time and out of brain activity. But today I had the time. I almost have the brain activity. Hopefully it's enough cohesion. I can't really tell until I review the video. Like, to me, this whole video has seemed pretty looped, but hopefully I'm incorrect. I'll see later if I have a chance to review it. He says then they can get your info. Okay, read that one. Fugue Chris Watts. He gonna meet his maker one day too. Oh, I see what you're spelling out there. FUQUE is a very clever way of spelling. I thought you were saying like a fugue state, like, oh, he can't remember. Like, I don't think I worked out that morning. I don't know why I went up and down the stairs a million times. Oh, because the garbage bags were down there and I needed the garbage bags. So I went down there like 150 times because I kept going down there and going, wait, what did I come down here for again? Now, Um, I mean, the activity on the basement steps that Tammy's alluding to in that Dodge Correctional Facility interview, which personally I think that that was the whole reason that they went out there, was to try to get to the real story of the other people that were involved in this crime. But I think that it also supports the theory that Armchair Detective and maybe Amber Truth Seeker, maybe not Kelly, I'm not sure, believe that Shanann and the girls were taken out through the basement, like through a window. And I think that that's probably more likely. I do not believe that Chris would put Shanann in the truck. And when you see all of the activity, you know, we see the pickup truck backing up into the driveway on Nate's surveillance camera, and we see Chris walking out there with stuff. I think that was just the supplies that he needed. I personally, it's my opinion that that wasn't the girls and it wasn't Shanann. I don't believe that. I think that they all were taken out the back. And I know that that will probably be counterintuitive for a lot of people that haven't studied the case as much. But when you go into that rabbit hole, you might just get more confused too. So it could be that all of that is just hogwash. But there were definitely more people going up and down those steps than just Chris Watts. Okay, let's just stick with that. No notification, Fred Field. Hello, my dear. Thank you for coming. And Granny Annie, no, he took out 4 people. Nico too. Thank you, Annabise. Yeah. Nico, the little boy. I mean, 16 weeks, you know, a baby is pretty much fully formed by 12 weeks. I mean, they form really quickly and then they just blossom and just get fat and get big. But, you know, they get put together all in that first trimester. I mean, they even have their like fingernails and stuff. And then the heartbeat, of course. So, you know, the entire little nugget is fully formed when it's like the size of a walnut. And then it just has to get a whole lot bigger. Most of them are not going to be viable until at least 22, if not 24 weeks. And that's still like a micro preemie. I think maybe the earliest micro preemie I've heard of surviving might be like 21 weeks. But if you guys have any different information, let me know. But yeah, that gets really scary for a lot of reasons with development. But I know personally a micro preemie who was born, I think at 24 weeks because the mom had preeclampsia and she had a lot of complications. The baby did until, you know, maybe her first year. And she has been free and clear of any problems. Like a lot of times babies born that prematurely will have ongoing vision problems or something. But let me just say this on a really fun, curious note, that that little child growing up or in that super early developmental, you know, first few months of their existence on the planet when they normally would be in utero, but they're not. They're in a incubator with all of these machines hooked up to them. It's kind of like the boy in the plastic bubble. It's like those babies are going to be computer geniuses because all of that machinery that they're hooked up to is what they bonded with. I'm like getting goosebumps because I know this to be true for at least this one individual that I'm talking about. But I think that that theory holds water because, you know, babies bond big time. I mean, that's why when they come out of the womb, they already know the smell of the mother because they were inside. And so then when they smell the mother outside, that's their comfort zone. So yeah, when they're hooked up to all of those machines that are keeping them alive and they bond with all of that electronic computer stuff, they are just born to be artificial intelligence wizards, in my humble opinion. So let's finish up what you guys are saying, and then we'll sign off here and try to come back on to a live maybe tomorrow, maybe not till Monday. We'll see. I am going to try to be present for both Kelly's premiere and her live tonight. The premiere is at 7, and then the live is at 9, and they should be really good. Like some groundbreaking opinions. Somebody put that in her chat last night. It was hilarious. Groundbreaking opinions. So, and she needs to be really careful about how she says things for the integrity of her channel and the integrity of the case and the integrity of justice. So just be aware of that. And let's see. Cindy Watts is poison. Anna B's, yeah, she's vile. The stuff she still says about Shanann, she's like, she's heartless. She's absolutely heartless. Anna, yes, sorry. How could I forget? I have not studied gross slam dunk that I cannot handle, but now see another or more may need looking into. So yeah, you're talking about the 3 versus 4. Well, and it depends what state you're in or what opinion you have. I mean, in that state, I think they prosecuted it as 4 because Nico was 16 weeks in utero. You're good, Annie. Anna B says, in other words, Shanann's family cannot have him stay alive forever. Yeah, I know. I mean, they're going to have to deal with that one day, but they're older than him. So, you know, with the natural progression of life, they'd probably pass away before him. Wouldn't it be nice if Frankie, the brother, Shanann's brother, if he has kids one day and that they have grandkids again? I mean, I don't know Frankie's status, and I don't know if he wants to have kids, or if he even does by now, and it just isn't public information. That would be phenomenal. That really would be. That could be very healing and very painful too, very triggering both. Placed in someone else's vehicle. Yeah, oh, Granny Annie is traveling again. So, you know, Armchair Detective, I think, had his channel dismantled because I think the Rusiks hated him. I'm not sure exactly how things went down, but I watched him a lot. I liked his channel. I didn't agree with him all the time, of course. But he did a lot of research and had theories about there's like a red car involved, that might be the car that went around back. Also NK's truck, that didn't she sell her truck like the very next day, like Monday or Tuesday? And then she also liquidated her yoga business. She had a little yoga business that I think she sold a few days later. Like, was she thinking she needed lawyer money, or was she thinking she needed money to like leave the country? I don't know. Maybe she thought that her and Chris were going to run away together. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure she sold her truck one day or 2 days later. And that's never talked about on the record with the case file. I don't think it's anywhere in the case file. I'll ask Kelly. She'll know. But I am going to wrap up, you guys. I appreciate you so much watching and being here and putting up with me. And hopefully things will continue to get better and better with the allergies and with the rain and with, I contacted my doctor to say why the antibiotic didn't take care of all the bacteria. There's still a little bit of bulging in the eardrum and the membrane. And she said that it can take up to 72 hours after you're done with the antibiotic. So if it's still bothering me on Monday, then we'll try more. I hate antibiotics, but they do sometimes do what you need when nothing else will. And I'm just really happy to be functioning. You know, I haven't been able to do my yoga so consistently either. Yesterday, in fact, last night was the first time I did my yoga routine without videotaping it, because I like to videotape it so I can see my progress, but you guys can see my progress. And I was just happy to be able to do it. So, because the night before was when I was like the Exorcist, like my head spinning around and projectile vomiting. I mean, I am exaggerating, of course, about the head spinning around, but the rest of it, I'm not exaggerating. Like, I seriously thought I was going to have to go to the ER. And I'd never had thrown up like that in my entire life. And it was all from the vertigo stuff, I think. I was better in the morning. I wasn't better each time I did, vomit. Like often you are, like you vomit and then you feel better. It was like I would vomit and then I would vomit some more. And then I would try not to vomit some more. And then I would vomit some more, probably like 10 times over the course of like half an hour. It was unreal. Sorry if that's too much information for you guys, but I'm just trying to let you know that I'm coming out from under that rock from, what was that, 36 hours ago, like between 36 and 48 hours ago. So I felt like a new person when I woke up yesterday. I didn't try my yoga until later in the evening, and then I didn't videotape it because I didn't know if I'd really be able to do it or not. And I'm just happy to be sitting here and talking with you guys. So thanks for watching. And have I done everything? I haven't asked you to make sure that you're still subscribed or subscribe to my channel if you're not. Share a video of mine if you like, and turn on your notification bell to ring. I like to say ring a ding ding. That's from a song called Bran 3000 Drinking in LA. Ring a ding ding. I'll put a link to it in the description. Hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you hopefully tonight in What's the Obsessions premiere and live. Thanks again, you guys. Love and light. Have a great afternoon. Take care of yourself. Drink your water. Stay hydrated. Nutrition, relaxation, and kindness, right? It's all about being kind to yourself, being kind to others. Take it easy, and love to you again and again. Thanks so much.